Hello, everybody. Good morning and happy Friday. Welcome to the Talk with Kiet show, where we connect people, ideas, and capital to help make a difference. I am excited today to be on live with Anna Frankowska, which I may have screwed up her last name,
No, right.
uh, the founder and CEO of Graceful Finance. Anna and I will talk about her extensive Korean entrepreneur journey as well as the business of aging in place. Anna, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much, Keith. Thanks so much for having me, and also thanks to Almer's Ventures team, right, for introducing us over that dinner in New York.
That's right. That's right. And I can't wait for one of them to be on as well. So,
Oh yeah, exactly.
and Anna, how we usually start the show is talk about origin story of entrepreneurs. I think it matters. It gives people insight. And the reality is when we talk about the iceberg, we always look at the glamour up top, but not the things that you had to do to get to where you are. So, what is the origin story for Anna?
Yeah, it's a great question. And by the way, it was a fantastic exercise for me personally because as entrepreneurs, we tend to be so heads down and working like day by day that we forget to look at the journey that we've taken, right? And especially I'm guilty about that, which is not celebrating the minor and major milestones. So thanks so much for inviting me to this show because I had time to kind of think through my personal journey and my origin story and how I got here, and as well look at the major milestones that kind of shaped me as a person, as an entrepreneur. So let me start with my personal story, and then we can talk more about my professional career. So I'm from Poland originally, and the good news is, in terms of the original story of entrepreneurship, I've always known that I want to be an entrepreneur, that I want to build a successful company, and that entrepreneurship is my path. And perhaps that was influenced by my parents because they're both architects but also entrepreneurs, so I kind of took it from my home. They often worked from home, funnily enough, back in the 90s already. And also perhaps because I'm from a country, Poland, as you know, like in the 90s we came out of communism into capitalism, and I was surrounded by people that came from literally nothing, or like making $7 or $9 a month. True story for my parents, for instance, right? To building small to medium size or large businesses, right? And becoming business owners. So I kind of was surrounded by that entrepreneurial spirit and that thriving kind of economic growth. So it was very inspiring for me to see that you can achieve something through a really hard work, and it's more original path than just going straight into the corporate world, for me personally. But however, my approach was a little different to entrepreneurship. So I won't tell you a story like, hey, I was 10 years old selling a $2 lemonade on the street. I did not do that. I've always thought about, from the perspective, what is going to empower me most and give me the right tool set and skill set to be the best CEO and leader possible, and to build an effective and large business. So in Poland, I always paid attention to education. The good news is, public schools are some of the best schools in Poland. So I went to public school. Again, I worked really hard, and that's part of my educational journey enabled me to take a first major step into my entrepreneurial journey, which is I moved to London. So I ended up migrating to the UK to study there, and to build my first business there. And with the immigrating to London and the UK, there are two parts. Again, there's a migrant story, and there is definitely a career professional path. So let me just quickly start on the personal side, migrant, because it's actually, I'm thinking about it. Wow, I was 18 or 19 years old, moving on my own to the UK, to London, which of course opened me up to all the global opportunities and global scene. But at the same time, if you think of it, I was totally alone. I moved there on my own, without my family, without my friends, without network, without support group. It was literally Anna in London at the age of 19. And I definitely experienced, culture shock, huge city and totally different country in terms of development stage.
Yeah.
Also, diving into deep water and having learned to swim, you just catch up really quickly. And I think that part of migration like created such a grit in me and like ability to ask for things. And a huge dose of independence because I just really had to start things on my own, right? I wasn't surrounded by any particular support. Having said that, my parents were always like, "Hey, you can do it. If not you, who else?" etc. So a huge dose of unconditional love, which is great to know it's back in my home base. But and that was a first big part of shaping me as an entrepreneur with grit and a really forming experience. That later when I migrated to the US, that was like easy peasy, really pleasant experience in comparison, right? Because I've been there and done that, and I knew how to navigate everything. Plus, love the US. It's a fantastic, place with great people, with great mindset. So let me just carry on my UK experience. I was lucky enough to get into UCL, University College London, fantastic university. I studied economics there. So again, I just followed my approach, which is what gives me the right skills to be great CEO and entrepreneur. And I think economics, it teaches you a way to think about the world from the demand and supply perspective, micro behaviors, macro trends, game theory, which is always fascinating, one of my favorite subjects there, which always helpful in building business negotiations or just thinking about different patterns, right? After graduating from university, my natural path for me was to actually go into investment banking. I did not start my first company straight out of uni. So again, it's not a story of like people dropping and then I just couldn't. A, I simply couldn't afford it, and B, like I just felt like I need to shape myself a little bit more. And I thought IBD gives you the best training possible from my perspective in terms of the skills you need to get, especially on the financial side, building all the models, which is now thinking back, it's really helpful in terms of managing finances, great training, and discipline, because it's a true story. You do work a lot of hours a week, right? You might hear like 80 hours, 100 hours or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
you know. So that was a fantastic experience. But I did join IBD knowing that it's a temporary phase for a few years to train myself, as well as save up so I can do what I want to do next, which is build my first business and enter the entrepreneurial path. And I do remember vividly because I know it's always a question, right? It's always a question for people like, hey, when is the right time to quit? When should I start my business? When should I go full time? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Exactly.
And I remember that moment vividly. I was at the point that I couldn't wait to basically be full time with my first startup. I did know it's all in game because it was either, I quit my job and I bootstrap, and either I thrive and it means I can stay in the UK, or, I quit my job, I built my first startup and I ran out of money, my all personal savings. And what it means, I do have to come back to Poland, right? Because I didn't have a safety buffer to enable me to stay in the UK. Unfortunately, the former happened, which is I did manage to thrive as an entrepreneur. Um, Quickly, when was the right time for me to quit? I started working on a site on my first company. I saw some early traction. I saw excitement from users. I was lucky enough that my brother was my co-founder at that time. He's fantastic CTO, graduated from one of the best university in Poland, University of Warsaw Technology. So fantastic developers. So we kind of teamed up, built a prototype, started getting traction. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to do it full time because this is my shot. This is my baby. And this is, my multi-billion dollar story. So yeah, when I saw this happening and that I have to push full time, without hesitation, I handed in my resignation and jumped into the world of entrepreneurship. And again, worth mentioning that I wasn't an HBS graduate with a network, family, friends, etc. So I will share much more on the ups and downs because I definitely did it, a very hands-on, literally, handing leaflets on the streets, right, to download the app. So very hands-on type of grid-driven path. But long story short, we will touch on it in ups and downs. But it was, for me personally, it was actually, a successful story. I did learn a lot. Managed to get, for instance, Forbes under 30, and at some point we were fastest growing company, and all of that taught me the right skill set, not only to be better at Graceful Finance, which is my current venture, but also in the interim, worth mentioning, I decided after my startup to join other teams in leadership roles. So I thought, again, the same approach. What will make me the best CEO? And I thought, hey, I do need to learn a little bit more. So why don't I join other CEOs and founders, help them with my skill sets? My strength is definitely on growth, revenue. So I joined as chief revenue officer, head of growth, and help other founders and CEOs build their businesses, and as well observe, what works, what doesn't. And it's very as well fulfilling, experience to help other grow. So some lessons learned from working with others. I was like, okay, maybe some of them are obvious, but I definitely saw that the team culture is so defined by the leader, and it doesn't matter whether series B, C, D. The leader has to be there and has to have a persona. It can't take a seat back. It can't focus on product or so. It has to create that cohesiveness, and it's ultimately belief in the leader, the CEO, and also obviously very much the topic, the problem and the solution. The second big thing I saw that, oh my God, budget management is critical. So cash flow management, like having huge burn rates, this it's never a path to success. You do have to be careful around when you hire people, how you fire as well, when you fire, to just make sure and how you spend on the product, what you build, because no matter how much money you raise, money goes quick if it's not managed properly. And I've seen that firsthand. And then another topic which became quite popular in Silicon Valley recently, which is hands-on versus hands-off approach, a manager versus founder. And again, it was quite apparent to me that the founders and CEOs, again, you do think, hey, I raise more money, I'm Series A, Series B, Series C, I can take a step back. It's not done until it's done. And from what I have experienced, the hands-on, and I'm not talking about micromanagement, right? I'm just talking about running or being aware of the process and having just a good detailed view over what's going on. It's definitely beneficial for early stage companies, right? And for me, it's like B, C, D, right? Because you are the driving engine, right? Until you are profitable and close to IPO, and then we talked about it, right? Getting other leadership maybe in place that it's more on at the managerial level, post IPO versus when it's still in the growth stage and you're reaching different milestones. So
founder mode, right? We call it founder mode. Like
founder mode. Yeah, definitely. I was like, oh, I've seen that, founder mode for sure. That's at least my philosophy. So long story short, on my origin of entrepreneurship, I always knew it's my path. And I just approached it through a different lens, which is education, economics, investment banking for training, doing my first startup which we will go deeper into for sure, for ups and downs. Then working with others to learn, and then all of that helped me to form me as a person to build graceful finance, where I understand what it takes. I've polished my skill sets, and my attitude is just much more thoughtful, patient, heads down. And I'm always, oh, I've seen that, I've been there, done that, which always helps to problem solve faster for certain things. And I think the biggest thing is just mental preparation for the journey ahead.
Yeah. So the question I guess is, in a way, is, how do you pick the mission? Because a startup is really a mission, right? So the first one was Nightset, which was a SaaS platform for venues, and then now it's Graceful Finance, which is really about helping people aging in place, which I'm sure you love to talk more in details. But like, how do you go about deciding what mission to pick?
Absolutely. So it's a fundamental question, I believe. Again, when it comes to deciding the mission, because you do have to be either incredibly passionate, super interested. It has to be your personal problem. Again, it's all my kind of view. To really be able to weather the storms, right, that are coming in your face.
Yeah.
So graceful, that was like mature approach, being like, hey, where's my core skill set? It's no, actually it was first, what do I really really care about? What's my next 15-year 20-year journey? What's the legacy I want to leave behind? What's my personal kind of story? So that came from my parents. I'm very close with my parents, they're retired, and they got me thinking about aging gracefully. And then I put my fintech and investment banking hat on, and economics, that's core of my education, right? And training. So I'm like, finance, this is my bread and butter. And people are incredibly underserved from the financial markets perspective. We have so many tools for home buyers and millennials, and so many retirement planning tools. But what about this massive generation, like my parents, who are already in retirement? They didn't have the same privileges, but they have an urgent need as we speak, which is finances. And again, we will talk more about Graceful, what it does. But they inspired me to think solving for financial security in retirement with the assets you have, and kind of opening up financial markets to a new type of customer, this longevity customer. So it was a combination of my training, my interest, and then obviously macro dynamic, which is it's aging population. We have aging population in developed nations. It's a huge macroeconomic trend, and this is potentially like this is a trillion market opportunity, a multi-billion market, multi-billion dollar worth business. So obviously through the lens of impact care, training, and also the market behind it, whether it's a moonshot, and whether it's actually a huge business that can really improve people's lives and do well on the journey. So that's Graceful, which is much more mature approach that came from my earlier experience, which is, you asked me about Nightset. So let me talk about Nightset. I do like to think there is kind of connectivity between the two, because both were meant to designed for making people happier, live better. Nightset I established when I was 25. I was living in London. I was investment banker at that time. So you can imagine investment banker living in London at the age of 25. What do people do? They love going out. So being a socialite, loving to, and I love going out. I was like, there's huge market and opportunity to create an app that would help people find the coolest venues, places, bars, restaurants, clubs, through a live feed, through a live information, to find the hotspots. So to always have a fun nightlife experience. And on the back end, actually help the entertainment industry that has one of the most lucrative customers that love spending money run their venues in a smarter way, which is, collect the data, run more powerful marketing, campaigns, and just run it through the data and tech, as opposed to on the go spontaneously as the night flows. So Nightset was very much inspired by my personal experience of I love going out. Nightlife is a huge industry. It needs disruption. I want to have a better nightlife experience. And that let me build Nightset at the age of 25 at the beginning. And again, regardless of, of course, it was entertainment and then evolved into a blockchain company. It's still an experience of building from something from scratch, right? So learning all about the technology, product builds, testing features, listening to customers, raising money, etc., and building the team. So it's incredibly transformative, but also experience that you can translate into other verticals, right? Because building product, team management, finances, investment, etc., it's very much at the core of building any company.
Yeah, no, agreed. I guess in a way, how different is it to build a startup in the UK versus in the US?
I hope no one in the UK will hate me for that, but I find I own UK everything. Like obviously, it was my education, first work, IBD, and building the first startup. I did end up on trade missions with Mayor of London. We were like top 50 fastest growing companies, but the journey to get there and experience is slightly different in terms of you have much more, like in the US there's much more thinking forward, like, and maybe it's driven because the market is just so much bigger here, right? Like a massive
Yeah, yeah,
economy, but people are like, okay, why this would work and who you should be talking to make this work, right? As opposed to will it work, will it not, okay, good luck girl with that, right? That was my previous experience. So I would say, and in the US, the market is bigger. People are very open to introductions. They're incredibly open to sharing advice. They really cherish failure in a way that, hey, this is your lesson. Now go and use that and build something, successful. They're incredibly supportive. Arguably, there is more capital here as well. And probably you have as well more, you definitely have more investors who are previous entrepreneurs who are now angel investing. So the market is much deeper, right? So, moving to the US, having done work with customers, I went through Accelerator, Antler VC, raised my first check day zero, literally when I had findings from customers and myself as an experienced entrepreneur. Raised money, then built a fantastic board of advisors who also invested in the company, surrounded myself with smarter people than myself in their particular, of course, verticals. And I've achieved that in 2 years. And I moved here like 4 years ago, right? So the growth journey has been faster and kind of, which reflects actually, of course, hard work, but also the attitude and mindset of people in the US.
yeah. No, I agree that the infrastructure is a bit different, right? And that's really what makes us unique as a country. I I guess now is the right time.
Migrants, right? You have migrants here, which is
Yeah, exactly.
fields,
Um,
whether it was 200 years ago or now.
yeah, yeah. So the question is, what is graceful finance? Like, what are you out to do? Like, what does it do as a platform or solution?
So with Graceful, we are very much focused on, my big mission is to solve the retirement financing challenge slash crisis, to help people age gracefully in their retirement. And we do it through enabling people monetize the single biggest asset they have, their housing wealth, um, to receive additional pension stream, like a retirement income, but also help them peacefully age in place. So it's a platform that opens up a new financial product to older adults as it relates to their housing wealth, but also provides a support around staying in people's homes, aging in place.
And you hear the bad rap historically around reverse mortgages, right? So the first thing people think about is this a reverse mortgage? How is this different?
And exactly that. Isn't it crazy that you hear the thesis and the first thing you think about is reverse mortgage? And that's what inspired me. I'm like, bad reputation, there's no bad product. It means the market hasn't been disrupted yet. If the only product people think about is something that has a predatory connotation, and I'm not saying that's true anymore because the product has evolved a lot,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it gets you thinking about, oh my God, it means there's no improvement, there's no disruption, there are no other options. If that's your default thinking, right? So our thesis is, it's not one product fits all. It's about giving people options. And currently, if you think of it, people with a lot of housing wealth, they can either sell their home, downsize, but the data shows 90% of people or 80 want to age in place. They want to stay in their homes. So if they don't want to downsize or move to a nursing home, then or senior facility, then what other options are? Reverse mortgage, HELOC, etc. But many people don't want to go into more debt. And of course, reverse mortgage has some predatory reputation myths and also is just a debt product. So what I've done is actually the reverse scenario of a typical founder story, which is taking US product to European market. I'm doing European product, applying it to the US market. So I brought a transaction that is quite popular in France, in Spain, in Australia, and in the UK to some extent. That works in a way where people basically have an option to sell their home. It's a real estate transaction. They sell their home. They get lifetime tenancy right, so they can stay still live in their home for the rest of their life and receive an income stream from the sale of the home over a period of time. And they get taxes, insurance covered, and big property management things covered, so they can actually age in place safely. So as a result, through this transaction, you have a arguably more income that you receive from your home because it's like home sale and purchase with lifetime tenancy. You receive more income, then you also uh, can truly safely age in place. There's zero eviction, zero foreclosure, because it's people's homes till the end of their life, really. And then you do have this full concierge services by Graceful to help you around home management. And that was a big evolution because I realized it's not only a financial problem, which is people need more money to pay for taxes, pay for property taxes, pay for long-term care expenses, meet their bucket list, etc. It's also about knowing that when you stay in your home is adapted to your needs and you have the right support network around you. So it's like a full package solution with financial help and aging in place help around ability to stay in your home safely and securely.
Yeah, no, that's actually a great approach, right? The question I have is, yeah, so you're starting this, but it takes multi-party for this to happen, right? So how do you go about getting the capital to build the platform? But also, I would imagine you need banks and other capital allocators to participate on the other side, right?
100%. So there is operational capital for the platform, but the most exciting part is the institutional story for the real estate assets. Because to your point, we're a platform connecting customer with capital, and that capital part is something that I have a huge conviction about in terms of graceful business, because we have opportunity not only to do good, to do well through the investment story, but also to do really good because of the impact story from, hey, you do help people age gracefully and live better life. So the good news is I'm dealing with one of the oldest and arguably the largest asset class out there, real estate, that has fantastic characteristics, right? Like it's inflation hedged, it has built-in inflation hedge, it's less correlated, it's less volatile, right? And then the structure of this transaction not only mitigates for reputational risk, or like there's zero eviction and actually there's a huge impact story, but also on the back end it does create attractive returns on a risk adjusted basis. So that's something where not only I have expertise, and I've been part of the Milken Institute, invited to speak on the panel there, but also I surrounded myself through my investor base with the right investors, with the right networks and expertise themselves. So like we have former Apollo on board who is leveraging their experience, former PIMCO executive that again run institutional sites to help me connect with the right investors, or former CEO of AIG Retirement Services who has the right knowledge around consumer proposition to make it safe and secure for institutional side. So I absolutely love that part of the business. I find it really interesting to be speaking with major pools of capital, whether these are primary allocators like pension funds, endowments, or family offices, or asset managers. Everyone is looking for differentiated investments. Especially patient capital providers are looking for have ability to look at the longer term horizon, which is great. And it's exciting to know that something like that already successfully has been built in Europe and Australia, and in the US, which is the most attractive market and the biggest. It's at the nascent stage. So that's a very exciting part of the journey for me.
And I guess in a way, it kind of relates with what you were doing at NatWest, right? In terms of real estate restructuring and that experience there to what you're doing now.
Exactly. So for sure, I did CFA level 1. I did restructuring at RBS, real estate restructuring. And my parents are architects and real estate entrepreneurs, retired now. So that was part of kind of training, but I'm sure Kit, you will agree that the best learning you get is actually for speaking with customers to understand what they're looking for. So, and that was a big lesson learned from my previous startup, which is as opposed to having a product idea and pushing it no matter what, with conviction, you actually take a step back, you understand what people want to get, like customers, older adults who tell me, hey, I can't eat my home, I need help. I put my savings into buying a home and now, I'm cash poor, asset rich. Like, how do I get access to my liquid wealth? So that was followed, hey, what would work for you? Okay, the structure works for you, great. Then taking that story to institutional investors and understanding, what are you looking for? What makes sense for your, capital allocation, for your investments, what returns, what duration, etc. So for sure, training is very important, but then just learning and listening to customers, and then formulating and developing product based on the feedback you get. You definitely need to meet patient people, but at the same time, if someone is looking for help, they will give you answers, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. But I think something you said that's interesting throughout this whole conversation is, you know, we may have a lot of ideas and we sit down and think about it and think about it and overthink it. At the end, we're just procrastinating, right? The best thing to just go do it. Like action
Absolutely.
speaks louder than anything else, right?
100%. It's through doing you truly learn, right? And then you can perfect everything. You can improve on rather than perfect. Whether it's your product, whether it's your pitch, whether it's your relationships. So, and then again, doing things. It's very much as well followed by just grit and patience. Being very, very patient because it's a process, right? The success stories don't happen overnight. We do have a data that IPOs happen in 10, 15, 20 years time. We were discussing Klarna, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That was established 2005 and took 20 years to IPO, right? So it's very much doing early to learn, to listen, to pivot, and to create something that people truly want and need, as opposed to blindly following conviction without listening to the market.
Yeah. Now, how
It's
difficult?
dirty for sure.
Yeah, I know exactly. Though, how difficult is it to raise awareness in terms of what you're doing? Right? because it's not a concept that US have been used to, even though it's been a concept elsewhere. Like how do you go about in raising that awareness?
So there are two sides. Again, there's consumer side, and there is as well institutional side. So I had to raise awareness for both. On the consumer front, it's actually been an incredible journey because I realized that whilst people may be thinking, oh, but boomers or older generation, they're great, they have so much wealth, they were so lucky to live through all that growth, and they have accumulated, so much wealth. But the reality is that we have additional big financial factor there slash something that impacts our finances. It's the longevity, right? We obsess about longevity. It's great, we live longer. But now imagine yourself, you're 75, probably have another 20 years to live. Actual tables might differ, but the data shows people live until 90s now. So if you have additional 20 or 30 years to finance, how do you do that, right? And we have like 12,000 people turning 65 every day, and they did not have the same privilege of the same retirement financial planning tools or fintech platforms that would get them more educated. So many people find themselves in the situation where they live on 50,000 retirement income. That's a median amount in the US, and many people are mass affluent, and majority of their wealth is in their homes. And what I've seen, what's super interesting, is that many people who had the need, and the need is urgent, like, look, long-term care expenses again, right? Or even just wanting to be part of community, go for a coffee, and not to worry about inflation and fixed cost of a fixed income you live on, and then that's being eaten up by inflation and everything else. What do you do in that case, right? So it was very much, my consumer awareness was very much driven by, hey, people have a need, people have this asset. And then I found out many people did, for instance, reverse mortgages without even telling their kids. And what it meant to me, it's like, oh, the need is so big, but there's such a taboo around it that people will not speak about it to their family or friends, because it's kind of a topic that's uncomfortable, right? Which is, hey, I don't want to be burdened to my family or friends. And also, oh, was I not successful in my life that I found myself in this position? And it's not their fault, right? It's just, if you put most of your savings into buying a home, and that asset did really well, it's actually the market's fault that they don't have tools to make it a liquid wealth. So consumer adoption was really great. As a result, I have over 12,000 customers in the pipeline in terms of wanting to take a product or being aware, or being pitched reverse mortgage when they rejected it. And they said, we don't want reverse mortgage for XYZ, but we are open to doing other things to get us liquidity. And it was very much, again, people driven versus me pitching a product. Then you have a second part of the story, which is institutional allocators. So again, I must say, like, last year was funny because of interest rates.
Yeah, that's right.
People with private credit, and there's such a huge topic right now, right? Everyone has been pouring money into that, and it's always opportunity cost where you put money, right? But at the same time, the investment proposition is really strong. It's a really great asset class, and institutions ultimately do need to find good assets to match their liabilities. And this product in other markets has been exactly designed for that, not only from return perspective, but also duration and liability matching perspective. So that part of journey is, of course, education, and then investment pitch, as opposed to just coming with, hey, this is a PA fund, this is a VC fund, this is SFR fund, and you just look at DPIs or performance of a fund. There's definitely more education, but again, I believe definitely the impact story resonates. So that gives me more and more platform, and it was fantastic to be invited to attend the Milk and Global last year and be able to speak there. Or participate in the research and contribute to other research papers globally as well on this opportunity. And the good news is investors want to find alternative, ways to put money. So, it's a longer journey. As we know, it's a B2B sale in the startup language. but there is a big need for this.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So that was great. Thank you, Anna, for being on today and sharing your story, your super impressive story. You know, how we usually end is really the question from you back to the audience in terms of, you know, who are the people you want to connect with and how can they help you?
So two asks, if I may. One is obviously if you have a personal story with your grandparent or parent or thinking about it, because it's a platform for children and their parents to ensure families age gracefully. And we take the burden off people's shoulders. Hit me up, share your story, and we can talk about product and how it may help someone retire gracefully. And then on the institutional front, from investment perspective, if investors want to talk about how to do good and do well at the same time and hit the financial and impact objectives, or just get smarter around this product, then again, more than happy to educate and have a conversation and discuss that part of real estate segment.
Awesome. Thank you, Anna, for being on today. And thank you, everyone, for your continued support. Have a great weekend, everyone. And
Thanks so much, Keith,
we
and
speak
thank you,
soon.
everyone.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so
Bye
much.
bye.
Take care. Bye bye.